Guys, this is going to be a great episode with our friend Cody Nelson of the Outdoorsmans, and Cody's going to be recapping his 2016 Arizona Archery Elk hunt. And you're going to get to hear about how he harvested a great bull and had a really good elk hunt. You're also going to get to hear about Swarovski Optik is doing its 25-year anniversary big sale, and Cody's going to tell you all about that. Before we get to that, I want to thank you guys for all your support that you give me here at this podcast. It's just awesome, and the amount of emails and Facebook messages and Instagram messages with you guys sending me questions and comments and sending me pictures of your past successes on your hunts is just phenomenal. I want to encourage you guys to keep it up. Also, you can keep tagging J Scott Outdoors or J Scott Outdoors Podcast on Instagram. I love seeing that on there. So just thanks so much for your support. You can also send me an email, jscottoutdoors@gmail.com. I'm happy to take any email that you send, and I try and respond right away. Before we get to this episode with Cody Nelson, I just wanted to remind you guys that the title sponsor of my podcast is GoHunt.com Insider. And GoHunt.com Insider is doing a free 30-day trial. So you can sign up for the Insider for 30 days for free, and you can see why I think it's the best resource a Western hunter could have. In this 30-day free trial exclusive for the J Scott podcast listeners, all you have to do is go to gohunt.com/JScott, click on the blue free trial button, and go through the steps. It only takes a couple minutes. You'll be required to provide a credit card, but you'll not be charged until after the free 30 days. You can cancel at any time within the first 30 days to prevent being charged. If you have any questions at all, you can email freetrial@gohunt.com, and someone from the GoHunt team will promptly respond. And I've already had a ton of listeners that have emailed me and told me that they have tried out the free 30-day trial. And I would say 90% of those people have kept that subscription. And once you see the value and all of the hunt statistics and the draw odds and the hunt strategy articles and the application strategy articles that are exclusive to the Insider, you're going to see what a great resource it is. I want to thank GoHunt.com for their title sponsorship of this podcast. They've been with me since the beginning. So remember to go to gohunt.com/JScott. That's all one word, J Scott. And you can go through the steps there. Also want to thank PhoneScope, the Outdoorsmans, and Real Game Calls. Guys, let's get right to this episode with Cody Nelson, and thanks again for your support. Welcome to the J Scott Outdoors podcast. Today we have good friend Cody Nelson of the Outdoorsmans. Cody, how you doing?
I'm doing real good, Jay. How are you?
Pretty good. The last time I saw you was nighttime, and there was a big bull in the back of the truck that had main beams that were like the size of Cody Goff's quads.
Yeah, we did pretty good. We had a good successful hunt, and it was good to catch up with you over in central Arizona over there. We had a good one.
For sure.
I feel fortunate.
Yeah, how many bonus points did you have, Cody?
I think I was just thinking about that the other day. I think I had 9 points, and obviously my application. So I entered it with 10 points, I guess you'd call it. And I actually drew on my second choice.
What's interesting, you drew that 23 South, and it's kind of a love-hate relationship for me. It's a really rugged unit. There's not a lot of elk. The elk are spotty. The terrain is kind of inhospitable. It's pretty steep. It's rocky. It's pretty hard to get around.
Don't forget the snakes.
There's rattlesnakes, there's chiggers, there's poison oak and ivy. There's all sorts of stuff that, crawls and bites at you and just covered up in chiggers. But it can be a good elk hunt. There's some good bulls. I've said in the past that, there's 15 tags in there, and in my opinion, probably 7 out of the 15 really realistically don't really have a chance. Everybody has a chance, but as far as having things stacked against you on an elk hunt, 23 South offers that, and I think, there have been some very good hunters that have struggled there, but there have been some giant bulls that have been killed, and just curious to get your take on what you thought about the hunt this year, and with the early start date of September 9th, and then having that full moon being on the 18th. I was just worried overall that the state hunt here in Arizona could be a tough one.
Yeah, Jay, it's funny you say that because Unit 23 kind of threw everything at us that you could, we dealt with some rain, we dealt with some, and not that the weather was the biggest factor, but it was the hottest archery season that I can ever remember. There was places that we hunted that were low, there was places that we hunted that were high, and I do not believe that there was a single time that the temperature got below 50 degrees.
Yeah, which, I've been in that unit before when some of the mornings, are, 37, 38 degrees. And
I think that, you talk about, making the bulls, you talk about dictating a morning. Those, they're done. You couple that with the full moon like we had in the middle of that hunt. It made for some pretty short mornings and pretty short evenings. I can tell you that.
Yeah, I was just there for the last 5 days of the archery season, but it seemed like, and I'll bet early on, they would go for probably an hour in the morning, and then they'd probably go for 15 minutes at night, and so your windows of opportunity, if you're a caller, or even if you're up on point glassing, if it's hot, a lot of times they're just going to dive back to the trees. Curious what you saw for that hunt.
Well, and Jay, what you're saying is absolutely true. We, in the mornings, we typically had pretty good, vocal, at least audible, locating. I will tell you that the first 5 or 6 days, I thought the bulls, they were not interested. They would respond, but it was not like they were engaging you like, hey, let's play. It was a standoffish, kind of a, we're going to keep our distance kind of thing. And I can just tell you the first 5 or 6 days I would tell you that, there was a couple afternoons that were kind of slow, but I was pretty much in bulls every morning and, most of the evenings. But it just wasn't ready yet. And the bulls, they just were not, completely receptive to, calling. It just wasn't ready yet. So
how much of that do you think was, starting on September 9th as opposed to, say, starting on the 14th or 15th?
Oh, I think
5 or 6 days.
Well, just take the second half of the hunt, which is when I ended up killing my bull. And so you take the second half of the hunt, on that Saturday evening, boy, Jay, it was like somebody flipped on a light switch. And I will tell you that even with the full moon the way it was, I just felt like there was a noticeable difference in the interest and the reciprocation on bulls either responding, to a call, whether it was a bugle or, you could just tell that it was a completely different feeling, and that they were interested and it was getting them, fired up.
Well, that's good. We got a lot to talk about on your elk hunt. Before we get to that, I know with the Outdoorsmans there being the optics authority, you've got a pretty big announcement, and I thought it was cool that we were going to go ahead and make that announcement here on the J. Scott Outdoors podcast. What is going on over there with the big October 1st announcement?
Well, Jay, it's a pretty cool deal because, those of us that have, kind of been hunting and paying attention and being able to see the progression of optics over the last 25 years, and I think I just let it out of the bag. Swarovski is announcing their 25th anniversary in the United States, North America, and they're very proud of that fact. They've been very successful, and they are basically offering a huge savings from October 1st to December 31st. And this is probably one of the best sales that I've ever seen, Swarovski put on.
So we're talking about Swarovski optics across the board. Do you have specifics as far as numbers?
Yeah, you're looking at all. First of all, it's the 25-year in North America anniversary. It's the SLC binoculars, the EL ranges, the X5 scopes, the Z5 scopes, and the Z6 rifle scopes. So the only thing that's not on this is the spotting scopes, and I mean the prices that are being offered are really pretty awesome, to say the least. You're looking at like, say for instance, the 1556s. Normally they're $22.99, and those are going to be $19.99. So that's a healthy chunk right there. That's literally a $300 savings. So
sure, that's awesome. Having myself been a Swarovski supporter for a long time, I've actually been back to Swarovski, the factory in Austria. I've actually been back there 3 times, and just love the company, love the people. Been fortunate to meet some of the family of Swarovski, and when you go back to the factory, everything there is first class. The factory, you can literally eat off the floor, and I've been using their optics for years. And I was kind of thinking before we were going to do this interview, and I get asked all the time, people wanting to know, what optics I use, and I have the Swarovski STX 30 to 70 95 millimeter spotting scope.
Right.
I have the 10 power EL range. I have the 10 power ELs.
Right.
I have the 1250 ELs. I have the new 15s, and for me, the quality, Swarovski always has that wow factor. I mean, I know you carry all the optics, all the high quality optics there at the Outdoorsmans, but I'm kind of partial in that. To me, there's just no comparison. When you look through Swarovskis, there's a definite wow factor. There's a crispness. There's a sharpness. And I love the customer service policies and some of the warranties that they offer. And I've been a Swarovski supporter probably for 20 years now.
No, absolutely, and with good reason, Jay. There, when you get into that top tier optics, the glass gets so good. I sell all of them. And you literally have to get to a point you have to pick out what's best for you. And, and I'll be honest with you, when you look in my pack, there's almost always an STX 95. I switch off between the 1250s and the 1556s, and, the 1250 ELs and the 1556 SLC. And then I almost always, without fail, my go-to everyday on my chest binocular is an 8x42 EL range. And I'll tell you, the thing that was most impressive about the Swarovski stuff on this last hunt was, all the big glass is great, and we did really good with that. But what was most interesting is that we had a full moon right in the middle of this elk hunt. And we walked out to some of these places, and with some of these bulls wanting to leave, certain areas, very early in the morning, with that full moon and an 8x46, an 8x42, I literally put my binocular in the hands of a couple people that I was with, and they were absolutely astounded that you could not only just see the elk and the bodies moving through the trees, you could actually depict and tell tine length, antler. There was no question as to what we were looking at. And so, the optics are just that good. And, when you get into that upper, level of optics, that's what you should expect.
Yeah, the light gathering capability with Swarovskis to me is incredible. You sell a lot of optics, but certainly Swarovski is way towards the top of the heap of optics that you sell, correct?
Yeah, I would tell you that we offer and we try to listen to customers' needs, but we do. Swarovski is kind of been our go-to glass for a while, not just because of what what we sell, but really, truthfully, it's what people are asking for. And you can't. There's nothing wrong with Zeiss. There's nothing wrong with Leica. Swarovski just seems to have had some kind of a combination as of lately, and they seem to be doing good. And you can't rule out the Leica Ultravids or the Zeiss Victory line or the SS. The Victory SFs. Those are all good pieces of glass. And you really got to you got to go in, you got to look through them, you got to put your hands on them, you got to put them to your eyes, and you got to decide what's best for you. And based off of those things, we will help you with those kind of decisions. But it's right now, Swarovski just happens to be putting on a pretty good sales promotion, and I think people are going to really, really dig into this one.
That's awesome. So that runs from October 1st to the end of the year to December 31st, correct?
They're running this from October 1st to December 31st.
Okay, so all guys have to do is either come into the shop and they can look through all of the optics line themselves, or they can call you on the phone. I believe it's a 1-800-291-8065.
Yes, sir.
And so, one thing I always encourage people to, if you have a chance and you live here locally and you can go in and actually look at the glass and look through them. I know the guys down at the Outdoorsmans encourage guys to come and take them out in the parking lot, and there's some hills around where you can glass and take a look. The other thing, I think it's important for those people that are listening from out of town. Cody and his guys there at the Outdoorsmans, they've been the optics authority for many, many years. And one question I would have for you, Cody, is for someone that orders online from you or over the phone from you, I think there's a huge importance to ordering from a shop like the Outdoorsmans, because I've seen so many situations where things happen, and having a personal relationship with the person that you get your optics from, if something were to go wrong or something were to happen, you could call up Cody or his guys and say, hey, I just was packing my truck and I backed over my binoculars. What do I do? Well, I've heard you many times, Cody, have situations where you say, hey, come take my binoculars on your hunt. We'll get them sent off. We'll get them taken care of. And rather than, ordering from some of these big box stores and what have you, where you don't know anybody there and you go to try and, take them in or get any work done on them or what have you, they don't know you. The thing I've loved about the Outdoorsmans for, as long as I've known you and Floyd for over 20 years, is you guys are always there and you take care of people. I was just curious if you could speak to that.
Jay, I think that's what we try to do is we try to put ourselves in the position, or in the circumstance of the buyer or customer, and it breaks my heart, or it literally, I've heard of guys getting stuff stolen, guys backing over stuff, guys dropping stuff off of our buddy Dave dropping a pair of binoculars off a cliff. We just try to put ourselves in the circumstance of the customer, and the ultimate thing that we try to do is that we really just try to make sure that their hunt or their experience in the optics world is not disrupted. We have gone out and gotten loaner sets from Swarovski for a guy. I've given people my own personal optics a time or two. It doesn't happen often, but, to somebody out there, when it does happen, it's going to mean something. And we just always try to make sure that those people are taken care of. And I think that all the guys in the shop, and, we've all been in those, quirky situations, and no one likes to have it happen to them. But when it does, you like to know that someone's got your back.
For sure. Let's take a quick break right here, Cody.
PhoneScope is a company that makes custom-molded, precisely engineered smartphone digiscoping adapters. Photographing wildlife has never been easier. It is simple to text photos and videos from your smartphone and share them with your friends. PhoneScope stands behind their product with a 100% money-back guarantee. Get yours now by using the JScott16 promo code and receive 10% discount on all purchases. Check them out at PhoneScope. That's PhoneSkope.com, or on Instagram at PhoneScope.
Okay, Cody, why don't you give me a few more specifics on the Swarovski sale that's going on so that the listeners can kind of get a breakdown on pricing, and then
Sure.
I've got more questions for you on your elk hunt.
Well, all the EL ranges. So you got the 8x42 EL range and the 10x42 EL range. Those are going to be offered at $300 off, and so I think that's going to be a really good value. And then the other thing that we're offering is that with that $300 savings, we're actually offering a free stud install. And binos, we're offering a free, stud install with the EL range, or the SLCs.
And explain for those listeners that don't understand what a stud and what a bino adapter is.
Sure.
Please explain that.
The Outdoorsmans has a pretty unique mounting system in the optics world, that we install a stud either in your ELs or your SLCs that allows you to put that stud into a bino adapter that has what I like to call a dual locking process, which you'll find that most, and it's a quick release, so you can do it very quickly, or you can, lock it in so that it snaps in once, and then it has a knurled knob that you twist down and locks it in for a safety measure. So it's a very unique system. Its value, typically is for the ELs, it's $60 for the bino adapter, and it's $60 for the install. And then on the regular SLCs, the studs are $17, and the bino the bino adapter is then is $60. So, your value is anywhere from about $80 all the way to, $120 on that deal. So, I think this is a really good value for people. But we are, really just trying to promote, obviously, helping Swarovski, with the sale, and then also, basically letting people know that, mounting your optics on a tripod is more efficient and, will help you find more game.
Awesome. So what are some of the other price breakdowns?
You're looking at big savings on the X5s. You're looking at, on certain scopes, you can save up to $500 depending on what scope it is and what package it is. And then, as usual, we are still making our Outdoorsmans custom turrets, and we are offering those with the sale on all the X5. On all the Z5, Z6, and Z6i products, as well as on the new X5 and X5i. We're doing a $99 credit towards their turrets. So we're really trying to help people get into Swarovski scopes. That is one area that I fully and 100%, every one of my guns has either a Z5 or an X5 on it. And then with the turret capabilities, I don't have to think about it. It is a simple range, dial the yardage, and shoot. And it makes it that simple, and the Outdoorsmans can help you, achieve that simplicity.
Awesome. Well, that's great that Swarovski's doing this for their customers, and it's 25 years has gone by fast.
Absolutely.
But that's an awesome sale, and I know you guys are going to do well with it. I encourage the listeners, if they're looking for any optics, if they're looking for Swarovski specifically, to give you a call and take advantage of this sale. Anything else you need to add with that promotion?
No, Jay, this, just if anybody's got questions on, specific pricings to specific products, we will give you the pricing that is available to us and the values that it'll save you. I am so excited about this sale, only from an aspect of, Swarovski really doesn't do a whole lot of sales, and they were very excited about this, and I think it's a good thing for them, and it's a good chance for people that, I don't care who you are, saving $300 on a pair of 15s is saving $300 on a pair of 15s. So, yeah. And with the holidays coming up and everything coming, I can't think of a better time to do a sale.
Awesome. Well, I've got some other questions
Sure.
for you about your elk hunt, and part of it was your expectations going into the hunt, as far as what were you expecting? How was your mental mindset kind of going into the hunt, and then compare that with, as the hunt progressed, kind of your transition in thinking or how things were going along.
Jay, going into it, of course you always have that expectation that you have an archery elk tag in Arizona in one of the, arguably one of the best states, or, certainly one of the best states, but one of the best units in the state. And, you start to have that, like built up anticipation, like, oh, I'm going to go kill a giant. And I think going into this hunt, first of all, I've been around and I've helped on hunts with you, and you don't want to get caught up in, oh, I'm going to go kill a 400 bull. And that's just where I think that when you get caught up in that, I ultimately think that the truth is you're starting to miss the point, and you're going to miss on something that really could be truly special. And so going into the hunt, I had all that built up anticipation about the rut and bulls bugling and, getting in inside the beehive, as we like to call it. Just when the bulls are frenzied up, and the truth is that it was hot. The mornings were slow, the nights were slower. I was fortunate to be pretty much in bulls, every day. I wasn't in bulls to where, quote unquote, we were engaged, but, we were on them and working on them and trying to get close and trying to get views of them. And the first week, Jay, my goals were in that 370 range. We did find a 370 bull that I was really close to being able to harvest. And the truth of it is that if it weren't been for me locked in on another bull, I may have had a really good chance at harvesting that bull, and I flat out made a mistake. As a matter of fact, I made several mistakes on this hunt.
How so?
Well, we had a perfect call set up. We had a bull that we called the Growler that absolutely, it took us 3 days to really get on him and understand what he was doing in the mornings because he wasn't doing the same thing. And when we finally figured out where he was, it was kind of one of those perfect mornings where, it rained a little bit and the brand checks that we've been walking on for, 3 days or 4 days quieted up and everything just got real still and quiet and the winds were good. And we heard him bugle and we got into position. We pulled in on a little bench. And sure enough, that bull bugled, we cow called, we felt like he was engaging and coming. And the interesting part of it is that bull held up and another little raghorn kind of snuck in on us. And in my mind, I'm thinking, the whole time I'm looking at this raghorn, the raghorn is he was kind of coming around just trying to bite that wind and get a little different, smell on us. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And sure enough, and Dave and Mike were back behind me calling, and it worked perfectly. I mean, it drew this bull in on a string. However, in the back of my mind, I was thinking, man, that can't possibly be the bull that was growling. And I'm watching this bull come around to my right, and he literally got within 10 or 15 yards of Dave and our buddy Mike. The whole time I'm concentrating on this bull, guess who sneaks up across us and goes straight up the ridge at 35 yards in front of us? Well, the big 370 bull. Now, he was in some stuff, and it wasn't like he was just standing out in the open. But it was kind of like a switch. He let the little bull go out in front of him, and then the big bull snuck in behind him and kind of went out and around us. And Jay, it just one of those moments that, you just got to keep your head on a swivel. And I was so locked into and so excited because it was our first call in that my mind was on that, raghorn bull coming into the call. And I never, it never even dawned on me, to look around. I was just caught up in the moment. And that 370 bull, snuck by us, and it was my fault.
So if you would have been a little bit more aware, do you think you could have got a shot off from where you were actually standing, or would you have just had to move just a little bit to get a shot off?
I think that two things happened, Jay, is that first of all, when we knew that this raghorn that came in, my instincts were going, God, that just doesn't sound like that kind of bull. And, I would have looked around, but I think the other thing is that if I had known the other bull was in the area, or, coming up through, I stopped calling. There was no need to call after, when I realized that bull was on a string and he was coming, he was coming right to us. Well, I stopped doing anything. And when I was laser beamed on him, if I had been looking around a little bit and I knew that the other bull was, within that range, I would have tried to cow call to stop him or to do something. And I just got caught up in the moment, and I thought I did the right thing by, I stopped calling with the little bull and I thought it was good. He came right into us. We didn't alert him. He didn't bark. He didn't, he took off once and then, I calmed him down with a quick cow call. But by that time, the other bull was in the thick, heavy stuff. And there was no chance to get a shot at him. So, long story short, we played with those two bulls for, another 15 or 20 minutes, but, the gig was kind of up. The best setup was the original one, and we just couldn't make it happen. They were interested, but they just weren't engaging after that point.
So then you let them go, and then what was your strategy after that as far as?
Well, they didn't move off real fast, but Jay, we at that point, we felt pretty strongly we had kind of snuck in, quote unquote, in a little bit into their bedding area. And you know how, hell, I learned it from you. I don't like pushing bulls out of their beds. I don't like messing with that unless I've got him in sights and I see him bedded, to take a stock on him. But we just felt that it was time to back off and get out of. We had done what we had done, and it was time to walk away and not push a bad situation or make it worse.
Gotcha.
So
at this point, who was Cody Goff with you too? At this
you know
point,
what? Cody unfortunately could not make it up on the first weekend. So it was myself and Dave Bruns and Mike Hagany, and it was an awesome setup, and boy, we did good, and Mike and those guys were great. It was kind of nice to have a couple different people calling. They were, 40, 50 yards behind me at one point, and, I was doing, the softer in-close calling, and they were doing, some calling back behind me, and, Jay, it sounded, I can't even ask for a better situation.
Awesome.
So, yeah.
So as the hunt progressed, tell me how kind of things unfolded.
I hunted the first, I guess it was first 6 days, and I would just tell you that those first 6 days were very much like what I just described to you. Early mornings, quick hour, you might get a couple, more playful events than that. But pretty much those bulls were going to bed pretty early. And then, the evenings were, stuff would start lighting up, that last half hour, 45 minutes, maybe 15 minutes, depending on what we were doing. And it was slow. We were in bulls, but it was just slow. And, so I left. I had to come back to the office here and get some work done. And I think I was back for a day and a half, and I joined up with Cody, and we went back up to camp. And when we got up there that Friday, I would tell you, Dave, between Dave and Mike and everybody up there, we all kind of felt that things had changed. The bulls were now starting to be a little more receptive. It just felt like they were engaging. And I would tell you that Friday was good. Saturday morning was awesome. And we had really high expectations there was a big bull that we were kind of chasing that was it was a 360 bull, real pretty, super long, points and big old whale tail in the back. So we snuck up into a little high meadow, and God, Jay, we waited there. Oh, we sat there for almost two. We were in there at about 4:00 in the afternoon, and we sat there for 2.5 hours and didn't hear a single bugle, not a single cow. Nothing. There was nothing going on, and it was just slow. So we decided to hike back to the truck, and we got within about 400 yards of the truck, and we snuck around this little rock ledge, and sure enough, the big 360 bull's standing right in the middle of a saddle, and he's about to start fighting with another bull. And I'm telling you that we watched a fight that it rivals any fight that I've watched to this point, whether it was on video or anything else. These bulls were knocking each other over their trees and everything else. And so we got into position, and as true fashion would have it, when bulls start fighting, you run like the wind and go right at them. And so we closed the distance. Jay, when I first got a good look at the bull and knew that it was the bull we were looking for, we probably covered, 200 or 300 yards pretty quick. And when I got out on this little rock, deal that I was kind of standing on, I bet we closed the distance to 25 yards.
And at that point, were they still just
locked up? Oh, my God. The dust was flying, horns cracking, cows running around, bulls bugling. It was just, all within literally 3 minutes, it went from dead quiet to, it went it was just a frenzy. Well, at this point, it literally is getting to that point where you're starting to think, God, can I even shoot legally? And I'm at 25 yards on the animal, and so as soon as they break up, I got Dave back behind me, and they start cow calling. So I got Cody and Mike and Dave, and Mike happens to be carrying one of those Miss September decoys, which I've never used. And Jay, let me tell you this. When Dave started cow calling, and Mike is literally holding, at this point because of the angle and where he was, he's literally holding it up. Not hiding behind it. He's just holding out in front of him. That bull saw that cow decoy, and with his cow calling, it was like somebody pulling that bull on a string. And we made it, tactically, we couldn't have changed anything because we were just stuck in a spot. But Dave was calling, doing a great job. Tones were good, perfect volume. And that bull started coming. I had him at 45 yards. And the only thing that was bothering me was I looked at my pin. I could see the bull. I could see my pins. My only problem was that I knew it was 702, 705, or whatever it was. And I was like, God, and the sun's down, but I can see the bull. I can't see his antlers really well. And I'm kind of glad I was paused and at least I didn't feel comfortable with my range because I knew that there was some gray bushes in front of him. I didn't know whether I was getting the bushes or getting him. So I let off. And as soon as I let off, that the bull came, quote unquote, disengaged with the cow calling, and he turned around, and that's when I saw that his entire main beam was broken half. So it you could see that fresh, white, clean, bone, and it just, and I'm thinking to myself, man, I bet that main beam's laying over there. We can fix that. Or Clay would do Clay would look at that and go, yeah, I could do a patch job on that, no problem. But I just didn't feel right about it, and I didn't feel good about the distance, and I thought maybe my range was, I didn't know whether I was hitting the bushes or not. So that's how dark it was, and you know what? Sometimes you just got to make the right call and back off, and so we literally, Jay, at that moment realized that the rut had changed.
Yeah, it's like just all of a sudden that we always talk about the switch or the flip of the switch. You're saying that was the defining moment.
That was the moment changed in the hunt where everybody was like, okay, now it's go time. So we literally had to sit there in the dark for probably 45 minutes to an hour just to let everything settle down and clear out of that saddle. We didn't push anything. We didn't scare anything. But now we had to figure out how to get back to the truck. So, you either went
to wade through the bulls or to go around or something?
Yeah, if we were going to go around, God, that's a 5 or 6 mile. That was probably a 5 mile deal. Yeah. I don't know, 4 or 5 miles, but then, so we did. We let everything clear. We kind of felt everything settle, and we stayed low on the right side, and we went back up to the truck, and we made a plan that night. We were going to go right back in there, and sure enough, the bull that I ended up killing was the bull that broke this bull. But we went right back in there in the morning, and we went in there extra early.
Let's take a quick break real fast.
Reel game calls featuring the elk reel. Reel Game Calls makes innovative, realistic, and easy-to-master calls using their proprietary, revolutionary design. They are located and manufactured in Gypsum, Colorado. Their calls were designed and battle-tested on some of the hardest hunted terrain on Earth. Check out elkreel.com. Use the promo code JScott and receive a 20% discount on all purchases. Go to www.elkreel.com.
Okay, so that morning you went right back in there.
Yeah, we went right back in there. We got in there, extra early, thinking we were going to have to hike in, and it was one of those mornings, Jay, when you pull up, you turn the lights off and everything, you got the lights turned off in the truck and you're shutting the doors extra quiet and doing your thing. And Jay, we probably could have had a party on the hill, because the elk at that point, they were 50 yards from us. And they were absolutely going nuts. There was more bulls in there in the morning than there were at the evening before. And you could hear the cows calling and talking, and I mean, so we literally shut everything down. We literally got away from the trucks. We literally put the trucks between us and the bulls, and sat down and just waited, and we just listened, and we just kind of took an inventory of all the bulls bugling right in that saddle. And we probably waited a good hour and a half. We get 30 or 40 yards off the trucks, and literally there's a cow. They must have either heard us or figured that we were other elk coming in. It's just that we were trying to be silent, but you kick rocks once in a while. And sure enough, we have little raghorn just come barreling. I was 10 yards from this raghorn. So we literally had to kind of circumvent this whole frenzy going on to try to get to the other side of the saddle. We ended up calling 2 more bulls in that, were not shooters. The broke, big 6, and the bull that I ended up shooting pushed the cows up and over into another meadow, or saddle, I should say. And we hustled up, we got on top of there, and, thank God, we had, Cody was with me, and, Cody's kind of like that little, guy on your shoulders talking in your ear, and he says, man, I those bulls, I saw him dip over on the left side over there, and he was absolutely right. Dave and we had 4 people with us, myself and Dave Bruns and Mike Hagney and Cody. We got right up to the edge of where they dipped off, and Jay, I had to be prodded a little bit, but you know how I am about always, not bugging them in their beds. Well, they dipped off into this little shelf, and Cody and everybody was like, hey, let's be a little more aggressive, and we did. We dropped right in with them. We were kicking rocks, making noise, cow calling, and it threw these 3 bulls into an absolute frenzy. And I'm talking to where they were cutting each other off with their bugles. They were bugling on top of each other. You can hear the cows. And all the while, Cody and I at this point, Mike and Dave stayed behind. And Cody and I were trying to sneak up into the timber a little bit and get, just break that 50-yard distance. And as soon as, Jay, we broke that 50 yards, and you could kind of tell, you could just feel it in the air that it was completely different. The bulls were engaging the calls. They were, I broke the silence. I let out a good cow call, just that 3 kind of, just that kind of, come here, talk to me, I'm here, we've been following you, and I'm ready. And long story short, it just infuriated that bull that we weren't coming. And so he would bugle, and I got a little aggressive with him and would cut him off and cow call right on top of him. And as soon as I did that, I could kind of sense, and Cody says, I think that bull's pushing the cows away. And as soon as he did that, we could feel the other bulls start. He turned his bugle towards us, not, he wasn't bugling at the other bulls anymore. He was concentrated on us. And so I calf called, or, just a little soft mew over the, back of my shoulder away from me. And as soon as I did that, it infuriated that I think we were just trying to make the impression that, hey, we're moving over here. And Jay, it pulled him like a string. He came right down onto this little bench and trail, and he was glunking, and he stopped once and bugled. I cow called right on top of him again. It infuriated him.
What cow call were you using?
I was using the blue diaphragm call from Steve Chappell and Rocky, and man, it was the sweetest sound, and it worked really well for me. And I was just using the one call like that, and as soon as he held up, I did one more little calf call over my shoulder like we were leaving again, and it was all over. The bull started glunking and coming right at, and I had one little tree for that bull to pass, and I had already pre-ranged it at 23 yards. The bull actually stepped in front of it, and he pulls up, and just as his nose breaks that tree, I let out just a small calf cow call, and the bull froze, and I slipped one in the ribs, and it was a good solid hit, and it just, that whole thing kind of came to grips, and I knew he was a good heavy bull. Didn't have a lot of time length, but just the experience of having your best friend over your Cody was so cool about it. He literally he said he could look through my pins even though I was holding the bow, and he said he could look through the pins and see the bull, and I thought that was a pretty cool moment. And then he leaned over and admitted, he said, "I left my phone in my pocket." He's like, "I should have had that on video," and we started laughing. And at this point, the bull ran down. He ended up going about 80 yards down below us, and we probably followed up on him a little bit too soon. When I got to him, he was just taking his last breaths, and so we backed off and let him have a moment. And within about 30, 45, I don't know what it was, he put his head down and he never moved again. And boy, I was just relieved, and all those emotions, and I couldn't have asked for a better situation. I couldn't have asked for better calling. Like I said, Dave and Mike and the whole situation, Cody being there, and he didn't get to come on the first hunt, and I wouldn't have had it any other way. And the bull ended up being a tremendous bull, and he's something I'm very proud of, and man, what a super, super heavy old bull.
Yeah, something that's so unique about the bull is it's when I saw it in the back of your truck, its main beam, it's just heavy. It's just a big, heavy bull, and like his one of his eye guards droops down, but it's like proportionally the beam is massive. Proportionally, it's hard to describe.
For the listeners, he doesn't have a point on him that's over 17 inches long. He's got 64 inches of mass. His main beams are 51 and a half and 55. And his 51 and a half, it's got that old cool bladed out, flamed looking, appearance to it. His thirds, one of them's 4.5 or 5 inches. But the thing that is the amazing deal, he's got 64 inches of mass, Jay. He has his H4 mass measurement is 6 7/8. So everything else is 9, 8, or 7s. So the bull, it's just super massive. I think the other thing that's interesting about him is I killed, obviously with you, a 23 North bull a few years back, and I compared the bases. Now, not the H1 measurement, but the base measurement above the burr. It's 10.5 inches.
Wow.
I've never put my hands around a bull with that. It's 10.5 inches. It's crazy. So
he's a neat dark horn bull, just a really cool bull.
I got really, really lucky. He's completely unique. And the bull ended up going, I think when Cody and I did it the next morning, I think it ended up going 329 and 7/8. And I'm amazed at how much it's all the mass, because there's just, there's not a lot of time length in him, and he's just a neat, cool old bull. And
he sawed off that 360, just sawed off.
He sawed off that bull like it was nothing. He sawed it off like it was nothing. Interesting to say, Jay, and I don't know what your experience with this. I've never even had the interest of weighing another bull's antlers. But the antlers, I weighed them last night, and it was 30 pounds on the nose, and it's just a skull plate. It's not a European mount. The skull's not there. It's just a skull plate and the two antlers, and it was 30 pounds on the nose.
He's definitely one of those bulls that you don't want in an area that you're hunting, because you know that he's going to go up to any bull that has, a 20-inch beautiful, fourth point or 19, 20-inch thirds, and he's just going to snap them off with one head shake.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
I mean, those main beams are just basically, battering ram, just basically, breaking points left and right. So
yeah,
that's awesome. I'm glad you had a great hunt, and
I learned a lot,
cool
Jay.
Stuff.
I made a bunch of mistakes, but I learned a lot. And just the situation that it was, I could not be happier with that bull and the experience that we had. So I could not be happier. So, but yeah, there was lots to learn and lots to I hadn't had an elk tag in 10 years.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I was fortunate to be with you on the two other bulls you shot with your bow. I'm sorry I missed this one, but I'm glad you had good help there.
I kept my average down, right? I shot him at 18 yards, so now I've got a bull at like 7 or 8 yards, a bull at 18 yards, and a bull at 17 yards. I don't know. I keep doing my average, I guess.
It's just all you need is one pin, and it's the top pin, and just make it 20 yards and call it good.
No, it's kind of funny, Jay. You asked me earlier about just situations, and I spent a lot of time around obviously you and Dar and Steve Chappell and those are I don't consider myself a great caller by any means, but you pick up little things here and there, and you pick up little things along the way, and I made some mistakes on this hunt, but I just wanted to say thanks, because there were some things that I've heard you do, there's some things that I've heard you say to do, and some of those things I did, just like cutting that bull off and being aggressive with him and cow call him right back on top of him, and just sweet talk him, and I thought that those things, in those certain situations, you just react and do it, and you kind of learn quick again. And I haven't been elk hunting, the last few years, just because of running the shop and being busy and, and having other tags and kind of stuff. But, there was some things, I had another bull in the beginning of the hunt, Jay, that would not come to a cow call. And we watched this bull get blown out by another hunter. And when the bull went back, he went out on this little tuft of grass and in this thick stuff, and he went back to that spot again, and I tried to loop around him. And Jay, you asked me about making mistakes or not mistakes, and I thought it was interesting that the old me, the guy that used to hang around elk camps for 12 years and every day, the minute I saw that bull get blown out by the other hunters, I should have literally in an instant took off at a dead run, because I knew where the bull was going back to, and I paused. And
hesitated.
I hesitated, and I literally sat there and thought, I had the terrain, I had the cover, I had everything I needed to do to get within 30 yards of that bull, and I blew it. And it wouldn't have been, it wasn't like some 300-yard run, or it wasn't, it would have taken me to cover maybe 70 yards. And I just paused for a brief moment, and in that brief moment, I gave that bull enough ground to cover where I couldn't cover that distance now without being spotted. And I just, you just think about those things that, sometimes I think, we get too careful and we're trying not to blow them out and go crazy. But I think when the rut's on and you kind of watch a bull do something and he starts to do it again, I think you got to be aggressive and learn from that. And if I had, not that I regret killing the bull I did, but that bull was a beautiful bull too. And man, I just flat out made a mistake. Made a mistake. I just was not aggressive enough.
I know it's one thing, but the thing you're doing is after the hunt, you're looking at it and seeing what you could do different. And, if you get put in that position again, you're going to be able to react. And the thing is that I think is good is you recognize that you did make a mistake and that you knew you made a mistake. So, it probably won't happen again. I had, we're not going to go into full detail on my beaver hunt, but I am going to tell the listeners all about it here in another episode. But I had a big bull that I was chasing, and I made a mistake in that I didn't hear any elk bugling. I got up to a little crest of a ridge. I cow called, and a little dinky raghorn bull bugled down off into this little bench. I didn't have my sneaky feet, by the way. I was using those Sneak Tech memory foam sneaker feet this year, and they're unbelievable.
Really?
Best ones I've ever worn. They're just incredible. They're a lot like those old Carlton Stalker feet with the gray, like felt bottom.
Right.
They kind of have that design, but they've got kind of a bungee cord system that straps onto your boot better. And anyway, a real like a 1.5 inch thick memory foam, and then there's kind of like this. It's kind of hard to describe, but it's got a soft kind of sock around the whole thing. It's really good. But anyway, I didn't have those feet on, so I thought, it sounds like a dink. And so I popped those. It took me a second. I sat on the ground and put my shoes on. And the way the wind was blowing, I had to move over about 50 yards or else the bull was going to come right in and wind me. By the time I moved over 50 yards, he was standing where I was putting on my shoes. And he sounded like a dink. I mean, like a 4-point just dink raghorn. And so I thought, I thought, well, I'll just video him and show Tony the video. I thought, you better nock an arrow and be ready. And so I knocked an arrow kind of haphazardly, and I made the mistake of I didn't pick the best spot to set up. I made one cow call over my right shoulder behind me, and the bull came straight in on a string, just just moaning the whole way, just boom, right to me. And it was the big bull I'd been after. And he came into 5 yards, and if I would have taken a little bit more care in my setup, the only place that he had to stop was one bush that was between me and him. If I would have set up to the left of it or to the right of it, I would have had a point-blank shot at a giant bull. And I look back at that situation of taking a bugle and assuming that it's a dink, and then it turned out to be the giant that I was actually hunting. Yep. And I called him into 5 yards, and I look back as that's one of the defining moments of my hunt, as far as I had my opportunity, and he was 5 yards standing on the other side of a tree from me and no shot. But if I would have taken, acted like that bull was the giant that I was after, he'd be dead. We'd be looking at him, we'd be sending pictures back and forth of this bull. And so anyway, I mean, we all learn from mistakes, and there's some other mistakes that I made I had another 10-yard encounter with the same bull that I'll talk about another time. But I think it's good that you can recognize there's things you could do different. I do it every day. Seems like I always second guess, and I think that's what makes people good at what they do, is if they can realize that they can always learn from
Jad, I don't know if you've seen it, but there's a deal that's been passed around on Facebook, and it's a picture of a big old male, African lion, right?
Yeah.
And the caption on it says, "If I'm not winning, I'm learning."
Yeah.
And it's one of my favorite things I've seen on because and I've explained it to my kids when they're playing baseball, or guys, I'm always trying to win. But when I'm not winning, and if things aren't going right, you got to be able to look at stuff and go, okay, what can I do better? What should I have done? And you lock that into your memory bank, and you hopefully recall it the next time. Some of us takes a few more times to learn than others, and that's okay. But you're always, if you're not doing something the way and it's not working out the right way, you're learning for the next time, and that's how you get good. Or you're always trying to better your situation. So.
Well, that's great advice there. Cody, it's been awesome having you on. It was great seeing you and Cody. Sorry I didn't get to spend more time with you, but it was awesome to get to see your bull. Can't wait to see it in person. Good. Just wish you the best with this Swarovski sale coming up. And what hunts do you have? Do you have any deer hunts? What are you looking forward to now?
You know what, Jay? I unfortunately, and I know everybody's going to feel real bad for me because I've had a strip tag last year and the 23 South tag this year, and I had my antelope tag a couple years before that. So I know everybody's real heartbroken to hear that I don't have a deer tag this year. And but Cody's got the other Cody Goff has a deer tag in 22 on the October season. So that's my next hunt that I'm looking forward to going on and helping out and seeing if Cody can punch his tag on a cruiser. So that's what I'm getting pretty excited about.
Good. I know that's always a hunt that we look forward to. I know Dar's out shooting with his boys this morning and getting ready for the juniors Coos deer hunt, and I believe they have a general season Coos deer hunt. And then Dar and I have been chipping away at this auction desert bighorn sheep hunt.
I'm excited to hear about that too.
Yeah, so time will hopefully tell on that, and
hey, Jay,
hopefully we'll have some good results.
One thing before I forget, I just wanted to make sure that everybody still knew that they still have a month left for the ultimate gear giveaway for the Outdoorsmans. If you go to www.outdoorsmans.com/giveaway, and it's our packages with the X5 rifle scope, or the long-range pack in vinyl harness, or an Outdoorsman's tripod, adapter, and head of your choice. So, outdoorsmans.com/giveaway, and you can still enter your email, and we're going to be choosing winners after the 31st of October.
Awesome. Yeah, I've been gone for 30 days or something, close to 30 days. But I've been able to kind of stay in touch with my email and Instagram and Facebook messages, and I've been getting a lot of response from listeners that are getting gear and packs and bino adapters and optics and all sorts of stuff. So I know you're just swamped busy down there at the Outdoorsmans, which is awesome.
I guess it's the time to say thank you for being a part of us too. We love being a sponsor, but at the same time, you're helping us, and we've had a lot of people respond to us from your podcast, and it's good information, and I've really enjoyed seeing you posting a lot of the people that are getting information from your podcasts and actually using it in the field. I think that's what the whole point of this podcast is.
Yeah. For me, it's so rewarding for people to send me messages and, hashtag on Instagram and different things and saying they get value from the podcast. And that's my goal, is to, provide education and information and
exactly.
Try and help people to get better, and have guests like yourself on that can provide information and bring value. And so, for me, super humbling. It's super exciting to have the feedback that I've had, and I've got a real loyal listener base, and it's just it's super humbling every day to wake up to all the messages that I have, all the emails from listeners, and I get a bunch of messages coming back from guys saying how well they were treated at the Outdoorsmans, and it's just one of those things. It's kind of a brotherhood here, and I couldn't be more happy with the way things are going, and I'm so thankful to be in the position that I'm in to be able to provide this and help people out. So Thanks for being a part of it. And until next time, buddy, God bless. And I'll have to come in there and see that bull in the daylight one of these days.
Absolutely. Let's get together soon. And thanks again, Jay. And thanks to all the listeners and all the supporters. We appreciate it, guys. Thank you very much.
All right, buddy. Take care.
Have a great day.